This is The Extra Point, an Arizona's Family Originals podcast, sponsored by your Phoenix Suns.
Yeah, let's talk a little baseball. Can the Diamondbacks potentially get on a roll here going to San Francisco after Lourdes Gurriel's incredible catch yesterday evening, and Corbin Carroll showing why he's one of the best bargains in baseball? And you know what? That's not my original idea. That's our next guest's original idea. The one, the only, Bob Nightengale, national baseball writer, joins us on the Extra Point podcast. It was your tweet that sparked. I got to reach out to Bob and have a conversation. It's a great day to have it. First of all, how are you doing? And second of all, how great of a bargain is Corbin Carroll right now?
Yeah, doing great. Yeah, I mean, when the Diamondbacks signed Randy Johnson to a 4-year deal back in, 98, he won 4 Cy Young Awards and brought the Diamondbacks a World Series championship. That might have been the greatest contract in baseball history. This one right now might be the second best in Diamondbacks franchise history, lock up Corbin Carroll. And if this guy was a free agent about 3 years, he might be making Soto-type money.
Could this potentially, I always worry about this. I mean, he's making good money. He's making over $100 million. But if you look in, you go back to like Paul Goldschmidt and that whole situation and why he left. I mean, as guys get closer, I mean, they're locked up for the long term, but is there any potential here where you're like, man, he's really underpaid? And the more and more we talk about it, the more and more I talk about it, I guess the more it fuels it.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny because you get underpaid when you have great performances. If he was just a mediocre player, you wouldn't think twice. But to be this good and this young, he'd probably be, we'll see what Kyle Tucker makes when he's a free agent after this year with the Cubs. Might be making $500 million. So that would be like a stepping stone for Corbin Carroll. So, would the Diamondbacks really shell out $500-600 million for Carroll in a few years? Probably not. I mean, they saved themselves a lot of money in this deal.
Yeah, they did. And you know what? I think it was Mark Reynolds who said you never turn down your first fortune. So if someone's throwing $100 million your way, you haven't proven anything in the big leagues. You probably need to jump all over that. But let's talk about just what he's been able to do on the field this year, because you look at this time last year and the struggles, it was stunning how much he struggled. I guess, impressive level for you? And how many guys have you seen go through a struggle like that, a sophomore slump, and turn it around the way he has?
Yeah, usually a sophomore slump lasts all season because the pitchers are adjusting to you, and you know how to adjust back. And he adjusted back right around the All-Star break. But usually it lasts the entire season. So kudos to him to figure it out. He always had the mental toughness, never got too down himself, kept thinking each day was going to turn around. And sure enough, he did. Now he's taking his game to a completely different level with what he's doing so far.
Yeah, and he's kind of got that like Julio Franco thing going now with his bat, and you're like, how in the world does he get his bat to the barrel to the ball? But he did against Verlander twice last night. When you look at Verlander, I mean, it looked to me like he's still the same old Verlander. Was that an impressive piece of hitting there by Corbin Carroll? Yeah,
I mean, he's still a very good Verlander. Obviously, been in the Hall of Fame one day. I can't believe he doesn't have a win this year. He's getting some bad breaks. Obviously, he could have won last night's game. But yeah, Verlander is still a very solid pitcher. And he can tell his grandkids one day, hey, I hit 2 home runs off Justin Verlander. Pretty cool.
Right. Yeah. And the second one was a breaking ball. He went, I don't know how he barrels it up. It kind of defies physics, but I'm here for it. And I'm here to watch him run as well. As far as these Diamondbacks here in 2025, it's been, 2 steps forward, 2 steps back. They scored the record-setting runs at Wrigley, lose the game. Eugenio Suarez hits 4 home runs. They lose the game. Friday night, I don't know if you were at that game. I was back in the studio, but you're scratching your head because they had the big comeback against the Dodgers. They lose the game. You're sitting here thinking, well, maybe it's not their year. It is May. But how would you kind of handicap the Diamondbacks' chances here of getting on a roll and trying to make a push to the postseason?
I mean, it'd be very, very disappointing if they don't make the playoffs. It's a playoff team. 6 teams go in the playoffs in the National League. They should be one of them. I mean, I think like I said, it's catastrophic, but close if they'd miss out the playoffs with this good of a roster. I mean, last year they won 89 games and, kind of haunted by the end there, particularly when they blew the 8-0 game to Milwaukee with a week to go. This team has got the pitching. When you look at what Merrill Kelly's been doing, Brandon Pfaadt's been the most consistent pitcher. Gallen's kind of been up and down. And Corbin Burns, we saw what he could do when he shut down the Dodgers. So you put this team in the postseason, they can scare the daylights of anybody.
Yeah, and Zach Gallen, he's had some great starts. Anytime a team from New York's on the schedule, he's fantastic. He wasn't too great over the weekend. Are you able to kind of look in your crystal ball and see where this thing ends? He's in a contract year here. Is this should we really be enjoying every Zach Gallen start here in Arizona, knowing next year at this time we don't know where he's going to be?
Yeah, I'd be surprised if he's back. I mean, you just gave $210 million to Corbin Burns. Are really going to have two pitchers making over $150 million? Probably not. But particularly a market like this, I think that's one of the big reasons I signed Corbin Burns, thinking, okay, we're probably not going to be able to retain Zach Gallen, so at least we got his replacement a year early. So I think Zach Gallen ends up going back east. He's a Philadelphia kid. He'll have the Yankees, Mets, maybe in Phillies all over him, let alone Baltimore.
Yeah, and he's beaten them all, so they know him well. And it would be a sad day, but as far as the Diamondbacks goes, I mean, they spent so much money on Burns. Is this like small market? You still consider them like a middle market team, or when you roll out a contract like Burns, where does that kind of have them stack up with the big spenders of the world?
Yeah, they're still probably about 10th or 11th in payroll. Their payroll is like $195 million. Luxury tax about $240. So I don't think they're not sitting back and just pocketing the money. I think they've definitely reinvested, and the crowds have been good this year. Averaging about 30,000 a game. So no, it's they invested in Burns, and the reason they did was to make the playoffs. Like, okay, if we have any weakness here, let's address it and get Burns in there, knowing that with that rotation they can beat anybody. So that's why they have to make the playoffs, or at least this year was a waste to sign Burns.
Right. And well, Burns certainly looked good in his last start against the Dodgers. As far as just the whole, there's a lot of talk about the local TV revenue and where it all goes here. And the Diamondbacks not really having much of a local TV deal. And does it go to streaming? Does it get to 2028? Do the Yankees and the Dodgers opt in? How big of a story do you think this is going to be going forward as far as just like revenue distribution when it comes to media rights in baseball?
Yeah, it'll be a big thing a year and a half from now when they go to the bargaining table. The next CBA is up in December 2026. So that's the big disparity. It's not the ticket revenue; it's just the TV revenue, where the Diamondbacks are probably in the $35-40 million range, and the Dodgers are in $330 million range.
Wow.
Yankees and Red Sox have their own TV stations. The Cubs have their own TV station. So that's where the big thing is, where the small and medium-sized market wants everybody to kind of pool their money like the NFL does. Obviously, the Dodgers and Yankees, Red Sox, they're not going to share their money because they're getting so much. But I think they'll try to find some way to kind of even out the best they can.
Interesting. That's definitely going to be a story to watch for sure. Big story of the day, and it's a great day to have you on here. And I think it was your line way back in the day when we were at the old CBS 5 building. You said the Baseball Hall of Fame is a museum and not a cathedral. So with that being said, Pete Rose, Shoeless, Joe Jackson, are they Hall of Famers?
I don't think they get in, at least for a while. If they, right now, we saw what happened with Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens, Alex Rodriguez. Have come close to sniffing the Hall of Fame. If you let in Pete Rose, who gambled on baseball, if you let in Shoeless Joe Jackson, who actually threw games to help his team lose to make money, it's like, let's open the door and let everybody in.
Interesting. So how does the next vote work? Will you have a vote in that? And how does the room work? Is there going to be like a huge campaign here, do you think?
No, what makes it so interesting is that, Pete Rose has never been on the writer's ballot. Obviously, Bonds and Clemens, those guys have, because he was, permanently banned from baseball. So the Hall of Fame said who's ever permanently banned is on the ballot. So he'll be voted on called a Veterans Committee, a Contemporary Era Committee. 16 people, 4 writers, 4 executives, 4 historians, and 4 former players will decide his fate. 12 to 16 have to vote yes for him to get in, and they'll be voting in December of 2026 for the 2027 for eligibility for the 2028 class, which is the same class as Albert Pujols and Yadier Molina.
Wow, wow. Do you think you'll get a call about that? Will you be one of the voices in the room, or at least offer some advice?
It could be. There's only 4 writers. That could be. It's going to be fascinating. Like I said, I mean, that is the cardinal rule in baseball. No gambling. There was never rules, and no steroid use or anything like that. It was just gambling only. So that's the part where I think it's going to have to be a hard sell. I mean, even Joe Morgan was up. He was for Rose. Then he said, "I'm not sure about that." Johnny Bench was opposed to it. Mike Schmidt was for it. So we'll see. We'll see what happens here. I don't see him getting in right away.
Interesting. Do you have an idea of who the players are going to be in that room making the decision?
No, they change that every year. So no, and you don't even know who it would be yet. But it'll always be usually for Hall of Famers, or if someone's not a Hall of Famer, very close.
If you were Pope Leo, would you pardon the Black Sox?
It's unbelievable that they're allowed in. I mean, everybody's in. So you can have Shoeless Joe Jackson, Eddie Chica. It's funny. That was a joke someone put on the on X today. That here's the Chicago guy becoming the Pope, and 5 days later, the entire Chicago Black Sox scandal. Those guys are all eligible for the Hall of Fame now.
Well, yeah, you're gonna need a sequel to the movie. What about Shufflin' Phil Douglas, the New York Giants player banned after threatening his manager?
Yeah, I mean it's wide open, but I think only of those 17, I think it's just Chilcott and Shoeless Joe who actually have a chance as far as Hall of Fame numbers.
Do you think? I mean, once this all calms down, do you think? I'm going to go to the Baseball Hall of Fame this summer with my son. He's playing in a tournament up there. Super fired up about it. There's pictures of Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame. Is this in 20 years? What are we going to say about Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame? I know it's hard to forecast, but do you think we'll see his face in there?
I think we could 20 years from now. I mean, that's the most hits of anybody's ever lived. Barry Bonds has the most home runs of anybody's ever lived. So, yeah, I think one day that's coming for sure. It's you want to see the greatest guys in there. But, the Hall of Fame could put some of the plaques, too. And the reason it took, Pete Rose 40 years to get in, because he was banned from baseball for gambling, that sort of thing. So, no, the Hall of Fame election is or induction ceremony is the best thing of the year. For you to go this year, get there early, because it's going to be the biggest crowd in baseball in Hall of Fame history. Because you got Ichiro, CC Sabathia, Billy Wagner, and then of course Willie Stargell, Richie Allen's family. So it's going to be an unbelievable attendance there.
All right, so I'm going to bring in our producer now, Joe Ferris, longtime Giants fan, and he has a question for you, if that's okay.
Sure.
No, it's mainly about who would get in first, Shoeless Joe or Pete Rose. Does Shoeless Joe get in before Pete, or does Pete get in before Joe?
I mean, you would think Pete before Joe, in the sense that they were both gambling on baseball, but the fact that Shoeless Joe was throwing games, even though he did have a good series, but taking money to throw games, that's tough. Pete Rose never did that.
Have you dug in on the Shoeless Joe Jackson story? Have you interviewed relatives and people that he played with? I feel like that story's about to. I feel
read stuff and the movie and stuff, but no. I never did any pieces on Shoeless Joe.
And I have a good idea. Your guy Scott Miller, who's going to be at the Hall of Fame signing books, you can hear his Extra Point podcast. That should be your next book, Shoeless Joe Jackson. Should he get in the Hall of Fame?
Joe, yeah, once he gets to the Hall of Fame.
Right.
But yeah, it'll be fascinating if they get in. Now what happens? Like I said, what happens to steroid guys? You can't let Pete Rose and Shoeless Joe Jackson in and just keep out Barry Bonds, Clemens, A-Rod, even the guys that got suspended for steroids. Then you guys say, well, they should get in too.
Well, I'm going to go this summer. I'm going to find a corner where they can all kind of hang out together. Maybe it's the corner you get put in when you don't behave well in class. What is next for you? Are you on the road? Are you here in Arizona? What are you kind of burning on right now when it comes to your next story?
Yeah, going. It's this rivalry weekend. Actually going to Chicago. Little Cubs White Sox action at Wrigley Field. Beginning they played this weekend. and then off to New York, where the Boone brothers are facing each other for the first time. So Aaron, the manager of the Yankees, and his big brother Brett, now the hitting coach of Texas Rangers. So that'll be pretty cool to see them face off.
And will Bob Boone make an appearance?
No, he won't. They talked to him and his wife. They're going to be staying home in Southern California, watching on TV.
Awesome. That's the best way to do it, in the box seats in your couch. And then watch the Extra Point at 10:35. It streams all over the country. Well, hey, we are really appreciative of your time. Safe travels, and appreciate the information. And we'll check back in as a Hall of Fame vote continues. And, I did think if they do get in, maybe we have like a chimney with some like white. Will we do white smoke? What should we do if Pete Rose and Joe Jackson get in the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, white smoke for sure. Considering the former White Sox or Black Sox, and of course the Pope's a White Sox fan. Cubs trying to claim him, said no. And then once his brother came out and said no, he was a diehard White Sox fan. And then I don't know how they found him off TV. He shows the Pope with the a White Sox cap on. He was actually at that 2005 World Series. So no doubt about it, he was a White Sox fan.
That's crazy. Well, we'll see if there's some divine intervention when it comes to baseball, and looking forward to seeing what happens this year. Looking forward to your every tweet and article there. So thanks so much, and we'll see you down the road.
All right. Take care, Mark.
This is The Extra Point, an Arizona's Family Originals podcast, sponsored by your Phoenix Suns.